Through captured light in the form of sugars, the lives of plants and animals intertwined. But there is another, a hidden kingdom that came along for the ride: fungi. And one tiny fungus in particular has had a major impact on us: yeast.
The yeast spores are everywhere. They're on us, they're landing on all the food that we're eating. If they find sugars in fruit, they start to ferment the fruit. So the fruits are always containing low levels of alcohol.
But the yeast actually wastes some of the energy in the sugar in the fruit when yeast go to the step of making ethanol.
From an evolutionary point of view, it seems surprising.
Why don't they just burn up all the sugars and get more energy out of it? And it turns out there are actually other participants within the body of a fermenting fruit. There are bacteria.
They both want this lovely, fruity, sugary, thing to consume, and they're in a race, they're in a competition.
So the yeasts are basically generating a microbicide. Ethanol is a dangerous molecule. It can kill bacteria, which don't have a cell wall after all. And yeast have a much higher lethal tolerance, a threshold to being killed by alcohol.
Robert Dudley has a very personal interest in the origins of our relationship with alcohol.
My father was an alcoholic, and I always had this intense interest in the origins of self-destructive behavior. And I never did any research on it, but I did live in the Panamanian rainforest for 5 years. And I saw a lot of primates, and a lot of them were eating mango and tropical plums and things like that. And one day, I just had this realization that maybe the great apes consume alcohol via fruit. So that was the origin of the drunken monkey hypothesis.
The drunken monkey hypothesis suggests that our attraction to alcohol is rooted in the diet of our fruit-eating primate ancestors. And the first step in testing it was to see how much alcohol is in fruits. Professor Dudley assigned the task to Aleksey Maro, his PhD student.
What I found in my work to test the drunken monkey hypothesis is that unripe fruit, ripe fruit, both have alcohol.
As a fruit gets riper, it contains more sugar and, in the presence of yeast, more alcohol.
We recently completed a study looking at monkeys consuming specific kinds of fruit. And in every fruit that they eat, they're getting about 1% of that in terms of pure ethanol. So in aggregate, they're probably consuming about 1 drink a day, 10 grams of alcohol a day.
Ethanol, or ethyl alcohol, is a volatile molecule. It easily turns into vapor and releases an aroma that signals that the fruit is ready to eat.
If there's fermentation going on while the fruit is still hanging, which my data I've collected supports, then the ethanol that is coming off of the fruit will form a sort of plume. And that will signify to an animal that smells it that there's a caloric reward at the other end of that plume.
Apes associate ethanol, the smell of ethanol, and the actual ingestion of ethanol with nutritional reward.
But left unchecked, chronic exposure to alcohol is harmful. Just like sugar, alcohol also needs to be broken down by enzymes to avoid toxicity.
If you look across all mammals and you ask, of the mammals that are eating fruit, is there a signature in the genome? Are there genetic changes that indicate better capacity to metabolize alcohol? Are their enzymes more efficient? And the answer is yes.
Over evolutionary time, exposure to alcohol in fruits has left an imprint even in our own genome.
We looked at the enzymes in our mouth and our stomach in humans and in other primates, and we found a mutation that you and I share with chimps and with gorillas. And we have this enzyme that is able to metabolize ethanol.
The evolution of this enzyme, alcohol dehydrogenase, coincided with a dramatic environmental change. 10 million years ago, the Earth was cooling, and the rainforests were giving way to savannas.
This is also the same time that we start to see some evidence of our ancestors adapting to life on the ground where fermented fruit is more common.
For the first time, primates started eating overripe fruits, containing higher concentration of ethanol.
That's why natural selection would favor a mutation that enables an organism to use the resource, the energy, the calories associated with ethanol, but not suffer the consequences of intoxication.
There's a transition to where a few small evolutionary changes, few mutations, caused the alcohol dehydrogenase to metabolize ethanol 40 times faster.
The mutations that help break down alcohol were advantageous. But there is another reason why apes aren't getting drunk. There is a limit to the amount of fruits they can consume.
Their stomach fills up before they can reach the typical levels of alcohol consumption that people just get in bars and restaurants in the modern world today.
However, there is an exception to this, as Dr. Kimberly Hocking discovered.
So we're looking at wild chimpanzees drinking the fermented palm sap from the raffia palm. Local people put these containers within the trees to drain the fermented sap, and the sap ferments incredibly quickly. Chimpanzees come along using leaf sponges and they start dipping to drink the palm wine. Sometimes chimpanzees are sat there for about 30 minutes drinking alcohol. And quite often they leave the tree showing signs of being drunk. Quite often the chimpanzees descend the tree and just fall asleep. So I think we can all relate to that one. One occasion, it was quite interesting, an adult male, he was there drinking for about 45 minutes, and all the other chimpanzees were making their nest, but he was intent on disturbing the other individuals and took an extra hour to get to sleep.
What the Guinea-Bissau chimpanzees show us, maybe a lot about ourselves, is that intoxication is probably something that is only possible because humans have the technology to dramatically increase ethanol concentration over what you would normally find in the wild.
Alcoholism and things like diabetes and increased obesity incidence can be termed diseases of nutritional excess. Our modern-day technological environments provide access to nutritional substrates that simply were unavailable to us 1 million or 10 million years ago as primates in the rainforest. It's an evolutionary mismatch.
So our modern environment has changed much more rapidly than our genome has been able to evolve.
So we can think of alcoholism as an evolutionary hangover in the sense that we have inherited this ancestral bias linking alcohol exposure to nutritional reward. And that works when there's not much alcohol in the rainforest and in the fruits that we're consuming, but goes badly wrong in modern-day technological environments that provide essentially unlimited access to really cheap, high-concentration alcohol.